Have you ever watched an ant walking around your kitchen and wondered what's going on inside its tiny head? Well, what if I told you that an ant has a better GPS system than your phone? These amazing little creatures have been finding their way around Earth for 140 million years. But even their incredible navigation system can break down. Today, we're going to shrink down and see exactly what happens in an ant's brain when it suddenly can't find its way home. Picture this scene. An ant is happily walking along, following an invisible chemical trail back to its nest. Everything is going perfectly. Then suddenly, disaster strikes. The trail disappears. Maybe rain washed it away. Or maybe another bug walked across it. Either way, the ant's main way of getting home just vanished. Now here's the crazy part. That ant's entire brain is smaller than the tip of a needle. It has only 250,000 brain cells. To put that in perspective, your brain has 100 billion brain cells. That's 400,000 times more than the ant. But somehow, this tiny brain is about to perform one of nature's most amazing rescue missions. The moment the ant realizes it's lost, its brain goes into total panic mode. If you could see inside its head, you'd watch electrical signals firing like crazy. It's like watching a computer crash. Except this computer is alive, and it needs to solve this problem fast, or the ant will die. But here's where ants get really smart. Instead of just running around randomly like we might do, the ant's brain immediately switches to backup plan number 1. And this backup plan is going to blow your mind. The ant has been secretly counting every single step it took since it left home. Yes, you heard that right. Ants count their steps. They have special brain cells that work like a step counter on your fitness watch. Every time the ant's leg touches the ground, these cells keep track. So when the trail disappears, the ant's brain starts doing math. It thinks something like this. Okay, I've taken 1,247 steps since I left the nest. Each of my steps covers about 3 millimeters. So I should be about 3.7 meters away from home. It's like having a built-in measuring tape in your brain. But wait, there's more. The ant doesn't just know how far it walked. It also remembers which direction it went with each step. So its brain can actually calculate not just the distance to home, but also which direction home should be. It's like having a compass and a ruler built into your head. When counting steps isn't enough to solve the problem, the ant's brain turns on its second backup system. It starts looking around really carefully. Now, ant eyes are nothing like our eyes. Each ant eye has hundreds of tiny lenses, kind of like having hundreds of mini cameras all working together. The ant's brain starts comparing everything it sees right now to thousands of pictures it has stored in its memory. It's looking for anything familiar: trees, rocks, shadows, even the shape of buildings or sidewalks. Inside the ant's brain, different areas start working like crazy, trying to match what it sees to what it remembers. Think about when you're trying to remember someone's name by looking at their face. That's exactly what the ant's brain is doing, except it's trying to recognize places instead of people. The brain is basically asking itself, have I seen this tree before? What about that rock? Does this shadow look familiar? Sometimes this works perfectly. The ant spots something it remembers and thinks, oh yeah, I know where I am now. But sometimes nothing looks familiar, and the ant has to try something else. This is where ants do something that seems almost too smart to believe. When the ant can't find the trail and can't recognize where it is, its brain creates a mathematical search pattern. The ant starts walking in circles, but these aren't random circles. They're very carefully planned circles that get bigger and bigger. Here's why this is so clever. Let's say you lost your keys in a park. What would be the best way to find them? You could wander around randomly, but that might take forever. Or you could start where you think you dropped them and search in small circles. Then make the circles bigger and bigger. That way, you'd be sure to cover every spot without wasting time going to the same place twice. That's exactly what the ant does. Its brain calculates the perfect circle size based on how lost it thinks it is. If the ant thinks it's only a little bit off the trail, it makes small circles. If it thinks it's really lost, it makes bigger circles. The brain is constantly doing math to figure out the most efficient way to search. And get this, while the ant is making these search circles, other parts of its brain are still counting steps and looking for landmarks. It's like having 3 different GPS systems running at the same time. While the ant is searching in its smart circle pattern, something incredible might happen. Those 2 antennae on its head, which have been wiggling around the whole time, suddenly pick up a familiar smell. You see, ant trails aren't just lines on the ground. They're made of special chemicals called pheromones that ants leave behind wherever they walk. It's as if you could smell the exact path your friend took through a crowded mall. To us, these chemicals are completely invisible and odorless. But to an ant, they're like bright highway signs. The moment the ant's antennae detect even the tiniest trace of its home colony's scent, everything in its brain changes. Areas that were working on the search problem suddenly switch to trail following mode. It's like when your phone finally picks up a GPS signal after being lost. But the ant doesn't just start following the trail. First, it does something really smart. It starts zigzagging back and forth across the scent trail to make sure it's real and to figure out which direction leads home. At the same time, the ant starts leaving its own chemical trail to make the path stronger for other ants who might get lost in the same place. But what happens if the ant can't find any familiar smells? What if all the landmarks look strange? What if the search circles don't work? This is when the ant's brain pulls out its most amazing trick of all. Remember how I said the ant was counting steps and remembering directions? Well, the ant's brain has been using this information to create an invisible map. Even though the ant can't see its own path, its brain knows exactly where it went. So, when all else fails, the ant's brain does something that seems like magic. It calculates the straight line distance and direction back to the nest. It's like if you walked through a huge, confusing maze, but somehow your brain could tell you exactly which direction to walk to get out, even if that meant going through the maze walls. The ant turns around and starts walking in what looks like a completely random direction. But it's not random at all. The ant is following an invisible line that exists only in its brain, a perfect mathematical line that leads straight home. While all this is happening, there's something else going on in the ant's brain that makes this even more dramatic. The ant has an internal clock, and that clock is screaming that time is running out. You see, ants are much safer during the day when they can see predators coming and when it's warm enough for their bodies to work properly. As the sun starts to set, being away from the colony becomes deadly. Spiders, beetles, and other predators come out at night. The temperature drops. Getting caught outside after dark is basically a death sentence for an ant. So while the ant's brain is trying to solve the navigation problem, it's also getting emergency signals from its internal clock. These signals are like alarms going off, telling the brain to work faster and take bigger risks. The brain starts releasing stress chemicals that make the ant move faster and search more urgently. At the same time, these chemicals help the brain work better under pressure, kind of like how adrenaline helps humans in emergencies. Here's what makes this whole process truly mind-blowing. The ant isn't just using one of these navigation methods at a time. Its tiny brain is actually running all of these systems at once, counting steps and calculating direction, looking for familiar landmarks, searching in mathematical patterns, sniffing for chemical trails, computing straight-line paths, home, monitoring the time and stress levels. It's like having 6 different GPS apps running on your phone at the same time. Except this is all happening in a brain that's smaller than a grain of rice. And somehow, this tiny biological computer can switch between these different systems instantly based on what information is available. If the step counter says one thing, but the landmarks suggest something else, the brain weighs the evidence and makes the best decision. What's really incredible is how often this system actually works. Scientists have studied lost ants and found that most of them do eventually make it home, even when they get seriously lost. Some ants have been tracked walking for hours in seemingly random directions, only to suddenly turn and walk straight home. This success rate is even more impressive when you consider what these ants are up against. Imagine if you had to navigate through a world where everything is 50 times bigger than you are. A small puddle becomes a lake, a crack in the sidewalk becomes a canyon, a gentle breeze becomes a hurricane that can blow you off course. Yet, despite all these challenges, and despite having a brain that's microscopic compared to ours, ants regularly perform navigation feats that would be impressive even for humans with GPS devices. So the next time you see an ant that looks like it's wandering around randomly, remember what's really happening. Inside that tiny head, one of nature's most amazing computers is working overtime to solve one of life's most important problems. That ant might be running 6 different navigation systems at once. It might be counting steps, recognizing landmarks, following chemical trails, and calculating mathematical paths home, all while racing against time and dealing with a brain that's having a panic attack. It's a level of biological engineering that makes our best technology look simple by comparison. We've spent billions of dollars creating GPS satellites and navigation systems, but ants figured out how to do it with just a few thousand brain cells and no outside help at all. The next time you see an ant, take a moment to appreciate that you're looking at one of nature's greatest navigators, equipped with backup systems that would make NASA jealous, all packed into a brain smaller than the period at the end of this sentence. Pretty amazing, isn't it?